Friday to this Friday, like the chances of it getting extended again are very slim. So be running with this Friday is the last day to drop a class. There's an email sent out about the revised final exam policy. Since all the details are in the email, I'm not going to go into details, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out. As I said last week, registration got delayed by a week, so there's details on that. If you have questions or issues regarding e-learning, please let me know. Admin can't fix a problem that they don't know about. Additionally, if you have ideas to increase like leniency, like there was the thing about final exam policy, pass fail may or may not happen, but that being said, admin are still looking for ways to help students. They aren't heartless. They actually do care about you guys. And they are discussing some of those this week that they came up with. But if you have any ideas, please reach out because they're hard to come by. The email that I talked about last week is still being discussed with Dean Griffin. Because of other big announcements this week, it hasn't come out yet, but we're talking about potentially ways to phrase it going forward. Tyler McDougall and I met with SAS this past week, but I'll let him talk about that. And there's a resolution on the floor coming out of AA tonight. I want to thank the authors who worked on that so much. They really did a great job with it. It will be in first read tonight and second read the following night. So tonight is just non-argumentative questions. Please keep your questions actually questions and don't be trying to make points with it because that's not the purpose of first read. We will have plenty of time for pro-con debate in second read next week. Not many project updates really besides the resolution since we didn't really have committees, but that's about all for me. There's my contact info. Please feel free to reach out to me regarding anything if you have project ideas for AA. And even if you aren't on AA, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you about them. And then my quote of the week is, if I've seen further than others, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants by Isaac Newton. And that really resonated with me because I really do feel like a lot of you in Senate are just giants. And really, if I've seen further than y'all, it's just by y'all's support. So thank y'all.
Senator Goodrow, please state your motion.
Mr. President, I move to open the gallery.
There's been a motion to open the gallery. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Seeing none, the gallery is now open. So for our guests in the room, that just means that you are allowed to ask questions to all of the committee and to all the committee chairs and the officer reports. With that, are there any questions for Senator Wood? Seeing none, we're now in line for a committee report on campus life given by Senator Fowler.
Hey, everyone. First off, I want to say congratulations to all my new committee members, Tyler Cato, Sudarshan Sridharan, Bradley Elliott, Claire Mazzeo, and Shrek Strickland. And also a huge congratulations to Blair Woody on being my new vice chair. It is also her birthday today, so she is now in her 20s. It's all downhill from there. Yeah, and that's a fun little picture of Blair and I when I won prom king and she was prom princess. So, you know, we go way back. And then, Matt, if you scroll down a little bit, our updates are that little link right there, which you can access in the agenda, just kind of shows what the town of Clemson is doing to help during these times of pandemic. So just some highlights from it. There's going to be designated street parking for carryout orders or delivery. They're being really lenient on utilities such as water service. They're not going to charge any late fees for any bills that are dated prior to May 31st, 2020. There are no updates regarding housing refunds or move-out times yet. That should be soon enough. The dining contract announcement will come within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Reminder that was pushed back because of coronavirus. I have a meeting with Kathy Hobgood tomorrow morning. I have a meeting with Councilman Robert Halfacre on Wednesday. And then also in terms of mail services, if you're a student who lives on campus that is currently not in Clemson and cannot come to Clemson anytime soon and you have a package, you can get it forwarded to you by reaching out to mail services, or they will not return it. I know normally their policy is to return it after a certain amount of time, but unless it is a perishable or unless you specifically ask for it to be returned, it will stay sitting there for when you get back. Oh, also Tiger Flicks movie recommendation of the week is Pride and Prejudice from 2005 with Keira Knightley. Email me for any other things that you want to see on Tiger Flicks, and we have 335 days until the Oscars.
Any questions for Senator Fowler? Pro Temp Williams.
Hey Tay, so is Douthit, the Douthit mail pickup area, is that thing still working on campus, or is everything at core?
I believe they wanted to relegate everything to a smaller portion, so I think it's only at core
Okay.
or the union.
Thank
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, we'll now move on to finance and procedures given by Senator Innocenti.
Hey everyone, happy Monday. So congrats to my incredible Vice Chair, Ben Hopkins. Isn't he so cute in all those photos? We love him. And welcome to all my FNP committee members, Davis Goodrow, Callie Lewis, Kelsey Dean, and Andrew Nace. I'm so excited for FNP, FN Proud, FNP, FN Proud, baby. I just messed up our slogan. That's really awkward. But just some updates from me. Thank you from everyone that attended my Senate 101 workshop. I included the PowerPoint and the live recording in my report, and it'll be in the minutes as well. And it was in Matt's email on yesterday. So if you want to take a look at it, please do. Highly recommend it. And if anyone wants to have another live session, just hit me up. I'm more than happy to do another one. In regards to legislation, our first appointment bill is on the floor this week. So Senate Bill 1 is the appointment bill for the Chief of Staff, Student Body Treasurer, Attorney General, and Finance Director. Each appointment bill requires written statements from each of the appointees. So that PowerPoint was sent out by Matt yesterday, but if you haven't looked at that, please do so before the bill comes to the floor tonight. Probably have a good another 20 minutes, but please look through that. That just talks about their qualifications and why these people feel they are the best fit for these appointments. The rest of the cabinet appointments will come to the floor starting next week. In regards to our returning senators, I know usually we have our appointees come before Senate. Obviously, that's a little hard with us being all over the country. Some people are in California, some people are in, I know one of the appointees tonight is in Kansas City, so he couldn't make it tonight. So we included pictures of each appointee on the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions for us about the appointees, Emma, and the student body vice president and I are going to do our best to answer them. And if we can't answer them, we're going to follow up with you throughout the week and have answers to your questions as best as we can. And the CUSG budget and the handbook amendments are coming to the floor next week. Some meetings I had or are going to have. The CUSG budget meeting is going to be probably on Thursday. I had my first funding board meeting, so I've officially taken over the reins from Hunter as vice chair of student funding board. So that's a fun time. You want to learn more about funding board, there's the Constitution. Hunter, myself, and Jonathan, our student body president, we have the privilege of being able to sit in on some input meetings for the student fee committee. So this is the committee that approves all the increases to fees. That includes lab fees and program fees such as the Honors College or specific major fees and just regular fees in general, such as like campus rec and the library fee and things like that. So we had some of these meetings this week. We just had our first one today for the PRTM Edge student fee. After this week, I'll put together some type of report so all of you can see kind of what they talked about and what is going to be the next steps in regards to that. Also, the FAFSA priority deadline is April 1st, which is Wednesday. So if you haven't filed your FAFSA yet, please go ahead and do so for the upcoming school year. The money fun fact of the week is the Federal Reserve is missing 2/3 of the $100 bills they've printed. And the bylaw of the week is the Senate Handbook, Rule 7. And there's my contact information. And that is all I have.
Any questions for Senator Innocenti? Seeing none, we'll now move on to Health and Human Services given by Senator Smith.
Hey, Senate. So first and foremost, I want to give a huge congratulations to my amazing, wonderful Vice Chair, Maggie. She's going to be a wonderful addition to driving, and so excited to have her. Also, welcome to all of my HHS committee members. I'm so excited to have you. I have Emma Walker, Andrew Lusk, Tom Cato, and Jordan Drinks, and I am very excited to have them. In of coronavirus updates, as of the 26th, there's one confirmed case of an individual associated with the university, but they have since been quarantined. As of the 27th, Clemson's recreation areas have been closed, so no more going to Y Beach or in the Clemson Experimental Forest. In terms of the COVID-19 reference guide, it is in its very final stages. We have a graphic that still needs to be approved, but it's going to be rolling out very soon. The guide itself was approved by Dr. Clay. I have here some of the resources that are linked through that guide. One that I got today was free ebook access that you can get through signing up with your Clemson email. There's a ton of free textbooks that they're offering right now due to coronavirus, so be sure to check that out. And the graphic that's rolling out later will be for committee points, so be sure to post that once we roll it out. In terms of university resources, I've linked a ton of resources there if you have questions or concerns about the coronavirus. In terms for South Carolina, law enforcement does have the ability to disperse groups in public, and South Carolina's Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism has announced that all state parks are closed through April 30th. So if you are going out in public in groups, which you shouldn't be, just be mindful of these things that South Carolina is also rolling out to combat the virus. I'm going to remind you again to please be diligent in these difficult times, check on your friends, and limit your exposure to other people. So I'm also meeting with Dr. Clay later this week, so more updates to come from that, and feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you.
Any questions for Senator Smith? Seeing none, we'll now move on to inclusion and equity given by Senator McDougald.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Senate. Huge shout out to everybody that applied to driving, and big congrats to my vice chair, inclusion and equity's own True Lyles. So excited to have you. So excited to be accompanied with Jasmine, Ty, Adam, and Thomas for the term 2. We're going to have a great time. We're going to win Committee Cup. It's going to be good. We're going to do a lot of good work. Some updates. Met with Lee Gill from the Office of Inclusion and Equity. He's the university's chief diversity officer. We are going to collaborate with his office to tell the stories of students affected by COVID-19, whether they have food disparities, or they had to get another job, or they're Asian American or Pacific Islander students. So if you're interested in this project, definitely reach out. My contact information is at the top. Met with the Gantt Center, really had a great relationship. We're going to have a standing invitation to staff meetings for the next year for someone on our committee, which is great. Met with Dr. Rhonda Thomas. Big thing is the Student Accessibility Services meeting. So Student Accessibility Services is up and running. All accommodations except for testing locations are still available. Something that I really wanted to stress is that Student Accessibility Services as an institution is for students with disabilities, not for all those that find barriers in their education right now, especially like if it's, high stressors or poor internet access. Those accommodations will come through other avenues. Student Affairs, Student Accessibility Services in Redfern are developing a web page to house all of their COVID-19 information. So I'll get that out to y'all as soon as I have it. Wanted to give you all the links to the CAPS website and then a couple of other resources that we were given, Carson and I, when we had our meeting. And so if y'all have any suggestions of stuff you want me to bring to SAS or any of that good stuff, hit me up outside of Senate. We have legislation on the floor tonight, so I want to echo what Carson said. Ask the questions that you are wondering. If you forget that you want to ask a question or something pops up after debate or questioning, ask after Senate is completely fine. You have a week. If you have questions for the authors or for anybody else, please ask them. We have a lot of times in front of our computers now, so we can send a group me or text message. And yeah, the novel of the week is Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. I had to read it in high school. I thought I was going to hate it. I loved it. And yeah, that's all for me.
Any questions for Senator McDougald? Seeing none, we'll now move on to innovation and technology given by Senator Fennell.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. First off, congratulations to all of the new vice chairs, and a special congratulations to Grayson, who is Innovation and Technology's new vice chair for this term. I also wanted to say congratulations to Casey, John, Caitlin, and Stephen. Welcome to the Geek Squad. I'm really excited to work with all of you over the course of this upcoming term. So just a few updates from INT. I have a meeting with Dustin Atkins and Ryan Reel Wednesday. So both Dustin and Ryan are directors of CCIT, and they are also ITSAB faculty contacts. And then speaking of ITSAB, we also have our March ITSAB meeting this upcoming Friday. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of what ITSAB is the IT Student Advisory Board. It's a committee of 21 students who provide input on everything from CCIT to really anything innovation and technology related on Clemson's campus. So we also have a pot of approximately $250,000 that we can allocate to different student groups that come and present on a certain project that they are interested in pursuing on Clemson's campus. So that being said, some things that we are going to be talking about in ITSAB this upcoming Friday is we're looking for student feedback on e-learning. So if any of you have had really good experiences, really bad experiences, or any experience in between, please reach out. I would love to be able to convey your experiences to the IT Executive Committee at ITSAB this upcoming Friday. So please reach out to me. My contact info is at the bottom. And additionally, we're going to be discussing whether or not we should switch from Gmail to Outlook. So currently, all students are, their email address ends at g.clemson.edu, but all faculty members are using Outlook, so they end in at clemson.edu. So this discrepancy is sometimes confusing, and sometimes people don't get emails that are supposed to be sent to them. So we have been debating Gmail versus Outlook for quite some time now. So if you have any input on that, please let me know once again. And then finally, we're going to be revamping the ITSAB funding guidelines. And then we also have roughly $50,000 left to allocate to a student led initiative this year. So if you have any projects that you're interested in presenting to ITSAB, please reach out to me. I'd love to be a point person to guide you through that process. And then the last thing I included on my report is two very interesting resources that you can utilize when you're writing a resolution or just trying to find out more information and statistics about Clemson and Clemson students. So the first link that is included is a website that has a bunch of just raw data and statistics about Clemson students and the university as a whole. And then if you ever need information or data about something that is not listed on the first link, you can use the second link to request information from the university. And then finally, the geeks of the week are Stephanie Keith and Isaac Budman. They are actually a couple in upstate New York who have been 3D printing medical face shields for local hospitals. So innovation and technology goes a long way. My contact info is listed there. So if you have any questions, concerns, or just want to get to know me better, please reach out. I'm very excited to get to know you. Thank you.
Any questions for Senator Fennell? Seeing none, we're now in line for student activities given by Senator Rogers.
Hey guys, I hope you had a good Monday. I want to start off by congratulating Nate Stevens. He's the new vice chair for student activities, and I'm super excited for Nate to help lead this year. And then I'm also excited for the rest of my SA committee, which is Wilson Bilecki, John Tewksbury, Josh Rogers, and Michael Wolf. Sorry, Michael, I spelled your name wrong. But as you can see, it's a committee full of boys, so it should be a good time. I have a few updates. So I'm meeting with Matt and Chris on Wednesday to kind of start discussing the transition with Campus Rec, what we can be doing for Campus Rec while obviously nothing's going on campus, and then kind of revamping the Campus Rec Advisory Board. It was in a transition last year, and so this year it's up and running again, and someone from student activities will be appointed to sit on that board. And then today I had a meeting with Matt, Jonathan Gondana, and Owen Godfrey about ticketing. So basically, they're still planning on pushing ticketing back to finals week, extending the window to 2 weeks so that students have more time to check their emails if they're busy with finals, and just have more time to apply for season tickets. And then also, I think they are talking about, just because of all the financial things that are going on right now with the coronavirus, basically either having a discount on ticket prices this year, and also kind of pushing the price back so you can request tickets without having to pay for them. So I mean, you'll have to pay for them eventually, but just kind of pushing everything back, because right now there's a lot of people going through some tough times. And then there's an overview of my committee projects, which I'm not going to go over right now, but you can take a look at them. And then my How to Talk Texan for the week is bless his heart or bless her heart. It's not a blessing. It's actually kind of insulting, and it's used when someone does something stupid. So if I tripped and fell, bless my heart. That's all I have.
Any questions for Senator Rogers? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with transportation facilities given by Senator Cooney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to all the guests tonight. I'm excited about what tonight has to hold, but let's get right to TNF. First off, humongous congratulations to Mary Francis on being selected Vice Chair of TNF. She is a great friend of mine and will be my right-hand woman and co-leader for the TNF committee for the rest of the year, so I'm super excited about that. Also, congratulations on being selected to the confirmed Best Committee in Senate to Brittany Bynum, Joey Henze, JT Bruce, Layla Sconyers, and John Newman. That's the TNF squad for this year. I'm very excited about that as well. Moving on, shout out to my on-campus informants. You know who you are, who are kind of my eyes and ears on campus while I'm not there, to see what construction looks like and what parking services looks like. They can confirm that parking services is still active on campus, and they will kind of want to know why you're there, and want to know that you have a good reason for being there. So if you don't have a good reason for being there, maybe don't be there. But if you do have a good reason for being there, like you are one of our wonderful RAs, feel free to park in any spot. Just don't block fire lanes and still stay out of handicap spots. Continuing on, just want to throw this out to the general public, anybody watching, any other senators. If you have any questions that you want to ask specifically about parking and specifically about facilities, let me know, because I'm going to have some upcoming meetings with Dan Hoffman and Todd Barnett. So let's not waste time tonight. Just reach out to me afterwards, and I will be more than happy to bring your concerns to them. Moving through the committee projects, Matt, those are the same as last week. Don't want to waste any more time. And then there's my contact information, Venmo. I'm going to emphasize that. The golf thing of the week. The terms birdie, eagle, and albatross are used to denote specific scores on a hole. Birdie came first, and it was based off of the slang term in the American lexicon, bird. So if something was good, like that's a bird of a car. So a good score on a golf hole was started to become referred to as a birdie. And then the other two simply continued on based off of that word birdie to continue the avian theme. And then, of course, Mary Francis thought she was safe. Thank you, Tate, for these wonderful pictures of my wonderful vice chair. And that's all I've got. Oh, also, sorry. That's not all I've got. I'm going to send a link briefly. I'm going to start linking this in my steering reports, but I just sent that to you. That is the Clemson Facilities website where you can go on and get live updates about construction on campus. So feel free to click on that, and it's actually a really cool interface. So that is updated all the time. So that is the kind of current project deadlines and timelines for all construction on campus. So that's a very helpful link for everybody out there. And like I said, I will start to link that in my steering report as well from here on out. So if anybody has any questions, send them my way.
Any questions for Senator Cooney? Seeing none, we'll now continue with officer reports, beginning with Clerk Spencer.
Hey everybody, super excited for our first Senate with committees. First I want to say what I'm currently reading, watching, or listening to. I am reading Desperation by Stephen King. It's just okay, but I need something to pass my time, so that'll be fine. I also started watching Ozark, and I'm already addicted to it. So if you know what happens in season 3, do not spoil it for me. Same thing I want to say is congrats to all the vice chairs. I'm super, super, super proud of everybody, not just those who got selected, but to everyone who applied. You did not make it easy for us at all. I truly enjoyed getting to know just a little bit about each and every one of you, and I am hoping to see the amazing things all of you guys are going to do this term. Continuing on, Clerk's Outreach Panel, everyone who reached out to me last week, I will begin to reach back out to you guys more this week. I'm sorry. Last week was super hectic and I didn't want to engage in any communication if I was going to be spotty, but this week I'm going to reach back out to you guys and we'll get the ball rolling on any ideas you guys might have. That's my availability this week. If you have any questions or want to talk about legislation or any project ideas you have and want to see how you can get plugged into the different chairs, vice chairs, or committee members that might have similar ideas, just let me know and I can start having those conversations and seeing where I can plug you guys in. Second thing I want to talk about, the other thing I want to talk about is that for my emails, still legislation, I want them by 5 p.m. on Friday, but also this is to every senator. If you have something that you really think is important, you want to get it out to the Senate body, please let me know by 5 p.m. on Friday as well. I'm going to start including this in my officer report. Please tell me, and if it seems like something that every senator really should know, I will let everybody know in my email, just so that everyone can have a very clear and I guess concise way of knowing what's going on in Senate. Last thing I just want to say is, we have 2 pieces of legislation coming tonight. So if you didn't get a chance to look at it tonight for future legislation, it's always a good idea to take a peek at it. Or if you haven't had a chance to take a look at the written statements, that's something that was really important coming out of Senate last year. So if you don't have the time, please take a look at it soon. But that's all for me.
Any questions for Clerk Spencer? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with Secretary Kibler's report.
Hey guys, so thank you so much for completing the committee placement form. It made it really easy to kind of see where everyone should be. And I really hope you all like your committees. I think it's going to be an awesome year, so I'm really excited. Make sure, especially for the new senators, to read up on the attendance policy reference guide. We changed attendance last year, and it's good to know how many unexcused absences you can have and how long you have to take to submit your absence request. So just make sure you're reading up on that. Now that we have committees, we have Committee Cup. I did kind of update what the point system is. So you can now get 4 points if you post a graphic on 2 or more social media platforms, because I noticed a lot of people were doing that. Finance and procedure is currently in the lead. So, but just because they're in the lead now doesn't mean that they could be in the lead in the end. So make sure you're representing your committee well. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to, who gets it when we're adjourning in March. And then Senator of the Week, the nomination form is there. And Matt, if you don't mind just clicking on this week's Senator of the Week. Oh. So this week's Senator of the Week is Janeda Williams and Matthew Spencer, our pro temp and clerk. They did such an amazing job with the vice chair interviews, and I'm so proud of them. And I know that they chose an awesome driving, and they're gonna really represent us well this year. So that's the Senator of the Week. And if you definitely have a nomination, feel free to submit the nomination form. And on this day in history, in 1867, Alaska was purchased by the U.S. Secretary of State, William Seward. And that's all for me.
Any questions for Secretary Kibler? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with Pro Temp Williams' report.
All right, guys. Hope you all are doing well. I am honored that I am the Senator of the Week this week, but I was not expecting that. But echoing what everyone has said in their committee reports, huge congratulations and huge thank you. Start off with a huge thank you to everyone who interviewed for vice chair position, it was definitely a hard choice to make. Like Matt said, I really enjoyed getting to know all of you, and I know that everyone's going to do really amazing work this year on the floor. But huge congratulations to the lovely 8 that were able to, or that is a part of driving this year, starting off with Sagan in academic affairs. We have Blair with Campus Life, Ben in S&P, Maggie with HHS, True Inclusion and Equity, INT. We have the Grace New York, Student Activities, Nate Stevens, and for TNF, Miss Mary Francis. Yeah, look at all these lovely photos from all these great people. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with them this year, and we have a lot in store for driving. Also, if you guys would like to get to know me a little bit better, hit me up if you want to have a little Zoom date. Also, we know that they have the Netflix thing where we can watch a show at the same time and like comment on that. I'm super into it, so hit me up if you want to do that as well. And yeah, all of my information is down the bottom. So yeah, hit me up because we are bored in quarantining, people. And that's all for me.
Any questions for Pro Temp Williams? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with Vice President Canedo's report.
Hey, everybody. Not much from me this week. I hope we all had a solid first week of e-learning and are just super stoked for week 2. But basically the only thing for me really this week is that Jonathan and I will be continuing to conduct our CAB interviews this week, as well as making some appointments there. So those will be coming to the floor as we continue to put people in those positions. So just be ready for that. And if you ever need to contact me, my contact info is right there.
Any questions for Vice President Canedo? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with my report. Hey, Senate. So happy first official Senate meeting where attendance does matter. So hopefully you were all able to make it. Just want to talk about the student fee input that Matt kind of breached on. You know, this is something that, you know, in my time in Senate, I've never seen before. Students getting asked to be a part of fees here on Clemson's campus. So that's been exciting. We have meetings all this week to give some input. So again, that's Jonathan as the student vice president, myself, and then Matt will be in on those meetings. I know there's been some rumors about office space within student government. So this is tentative whether or not we go back in the fall semester due to COVID-19. But we do have the office space for the remainder of the 2020 year. That is official. Dr. Miller did tell me that. So they wouldn't plan on tearing down that space for at least 2021. With that said, the listserv has now been updated. So unless you didn't get the email last night from Clerk Spencer, you should be good. But if you didn't get the emails, please let me know. I know it was kind of confusing for some of you returning senators. I booted a lot of the old senators off if you were a senator before, and then you got that email, but I also added you back. So we're good with that. We did have an academic council meeting this past Thursday. Myself, along with Carson Wood, Jonathan Gandana, and Logan Young sat in on that meeting, and basically we just updated the final exam policy, which you got an email about Friday. Really, to sum it up, basically, regardless of your grade, you can be exempted from your final with the discretion of your professor or teacher determining that. The last thing I do want to state in my report is if there is any type of graphic that is made within Senate that uses the student government logo, so that's the logo with the 3 elements on it, the scroll, the gavel, that logo, please make sure you get that media approved because that type of graphic is a statement from all of student government, and we wouldn't want to put something out that all of student government didn't support. Otherwise, you may post anything such as an event that your committee is hosting, such as in the past we had like Financial Literacy Week. That could be a graphic that just your committee made it and put out. But with that said, is there any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Clark, is there any old business?
No, Mr. President.
Mr. Clark, is there any new business?
Yes, Mr. President. Senate Bill 1.
Are the authors present?
Yes, Mr. President.
Would you like your first rights?
Yes.
All right.
All right, guys. So this was the first appointment bill I alluded to earlier. Just so y'all know how this process works usually, specifically for these main first 4 ones, Attorney General is elected internally through judicial branch. Emma and Jonathan don't have me saying this. This is chosen by members of judicial branch, kind of like our internal Senate elections. This is the person that judicial is wanting to have as their Attorney General for this year. And as part of that, we have to at least still approve the Attorney General to sit on Emma and Jonathan's cabinet, as the Attorney General is a voting member of their cabinet. Chief of Staff and Student Body Treasurer were interviewed by Emma and Jonathan, and they've chosen these people. I can let Emma talk about their qualifications in a little bit when I yield her some time, as well as the Finance Director. The Finance Director was chosen from the Student Body Treasurer applicants. They thought he would be a really great fit for Finance Director, so they decided to nominate him as the Finance Director for this term. The Finance Director, the difference between Finance Director and Student Body Treasurer: Finance Director handles all of our internal CUSG finances. Meanwhile, the Student Body Treasurer serves as the chair of the Student Funding Board and oversees that pot of money, and is kind of our liaison between CUSG as a whole and the Student Funding Board, as that used to be fully under our control, but now that is kind of moved away from that, but we still have that liaison between the two. In regards to, again, like I said, we don't have all the appointments here tonight, or appointees here tonight, because they're all over the country, so it's hard to get them all on the call. I think actually Sama Malik is on the call tonight. She is a former senator, so she decided to join in. So if anyone has any questions for her, or I can yield her some time in a sec to also introduce herself if we want to, but she is also on the call in case anybody has any questions for her. How this is going to work tonight, after I yield some time to Emma to talk about the candidates for questions, we're going to try our best to answer these questions like I stated earlier. If anyone has any questions that us two cannot answer on behalf of these candidates, I will be writing down every question that anyone asks that we can't answer, and who asked them, what the question is, and I will follow up with you, and Emma will follow up with you throughout the week with those answers to those questions as best as we can. Obviously, this isn't the best scenario, but it's just what we're going to have to do with the circumstances that we're under. And I will yield some time to Emma to talk about the appointees.
Yes. Okay. So, like we said, we interviewed for our treasurer position as well as our chief of staff, and just thought that Sama and George were outstanding applicants. We had a lot of wonderful and amazing people apply for the positions, but we just think that at the end of the day that they were going to do the best job in those positions, serving the student body. And for our finance chair, we also, like I said, had a lot of really amazing people interviewing for the position of treasurer. But when we were going through that process, we came across Jonathan Rubin, who we were absolutely blown away by, but he did not have as much experience as George with funding boards. So we decided to give or put George in that position, but we knew that we still wanted to have Jonathan on our team in some capacity because of his qualifications for the position. So we did decide to offer him the position of finance chair, and he has accepted. So we are excited to be working with him this semester. If anybody has any questions about that.
I'm going to yield some time to Sama real quick to introduce herself since she's on the call.
Hey guys, I'm Sama. I'm a junior biochemistry major. I don't really know what else to say. I just was having some FOMO, so I kind of wanted to come to Senate tonight. I was pro temp last year, so I'm just trying to relive my glory days, but hopefully I get to meet all of you soon enough. Looking forward to a good term. Please approve me. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I think that's all we have. Again, this is first read, and we're not going through 2 reads in one night tonight. So this is just strictly questions. So if anyone has any questions about the appointments or what they do or what their goals are, things like that. You can ask those type of questions. Remember, it shouldn't be debating in nature. If you do, I will call you out of order, just as a heads up. And that is that. And we yield the rest of our time.
We're now on line of a period question and answer, beginning with Senator Brandenburg.
Hey, y'all. This one's directed more at George Davis than anyone else. What are his plans specifically for the funding board moving forward? I know he's requested money on the funding board. The feedback process is incredibly opaque, and I was wondering if there's going to be revisions made to the student funding board constitution this semester as well.
I can talk a little bit, and if Emma has anything to add on, she can. So I also serve as the vice chair of the funding board. I'll be serving alongside George if he's approved. He has talked a lot about student input and feedback within funding board already, and I know that's definitely something that he's wanting to work on and kind of improve with regards to student organizations. And if Emma, do you have anything to add on to that in regards to that question? Okay, I will definitely though reach out to George and get a more clear answer for you, Bradenberg, and we will definitely follow up with you on that.
All right. Any other questions? All right, Senator McDougald.
Mr. President, I move to send Senate Bill 1 back to committee.
There's been a motion to send Senate Bill 1 back into committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Seeing none, we're now in line whether to vote to send. Seeing none, Senate Bill 1 is back in committee. All right. Just to kind of clarify that, for sending a bill back into committee, you don't actually have to vote on that. You just, if there's no objections, then you just send that bill back into committee. Mr. Clerk, is there any additional new business?
Yes, Mr. President, Senate Resolution 1.
Are the authors present?
Yes, Mr. President.
Would you like your first right?
Please.
All right.
All right, everybody. Nice to see all your beautiful faces and to talk again. I'm going to speak first a little bit, and then the other authors will chime in or add stuff I'm going to think necessary. Matt, if you could just scroll down to this line 1 so we can see most of it. Hopefully you'll have gone ahead and read this. It's fairly straightforward. What we did is we went through and kind of listed the reasons why we believe that there's a necessity for a pass-fail option for this semester, only due to COVID-19 and the displacement of students and the situations they find themselves in. We talk about the effects that COVID-19 has, what e-learning has done. We recognize that there was a two one-day e-learning trial. There were 2 one-day e-learning trials, but they were under very different circumstances. We stipulate that they can't be extrapolated to the one that we are in now. That adjustments are necessary, including and on top of the adjustments that have already been had and will continue to come out. Really focusing on the transition and the difference between stuff that's student life, academically, especially now. Some students don't have access to their textbooks because they're still in Dalton and they can't get back. Some students don't have access to testing rooms, as I talked about earlier, or quiet spaces or strong internet access. Some students have to seek jobs or take care of siblings or what have you, so they have additional responsibilities that they typically wouldn't have. The closure of campus has changed the scope and function of different accommodations that are typically available, like study spaces, library services, office hours, tutoring services, the test bank, and CAPS and Redfern and all that to an extent, although there are still some resources there. Syllabi and grading policies changed midway. Expectations are vague and are changing each week. So a big theme of this is the volatility of the situation right now. There's also the stressor of there just being a global pandemic. Like, it's sunny outside and the birds are chirping, but for some reason we can't leave our houses. That's unsettling. The unexpected transition and the rapidly changing situation, again, the volatility. A lot of our peer institutions, notably University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, have instituted something pretty similar to what we are. We are asking for and, kind of supporting. We then stipulate what the effects of a pass-fail would have, reducing stress on students, administration, and faculty. Just a fun anecdote, I asked one of my classes today that had a call about their opinions on pass-fail, and the professor actually said that he believes that, pass-fail, he doesn't have a strong opinion either way, but he's doesn't have any objections to it and would make his life easier right now, which is hectic. So I just thought that was interesting. Individual senators sent out a poll that, as of this being written, had received 3,355 responses from Clemson students who support the development of an optional pass-fail. Carson and I had spoken at length about different scholarships and kind of the stuff that, could be a hindrance if, a student would want to use pass-fail. We understand that a lot of students either want to use letter grades because they, have worked really hard and they deserve that to show their achievement, need letter grades, regardless if it's because of a credit or a scholarship. Going back to what I was saying about Carson and I, we have done some research, and for at least our in-state students with either South Carolina Life or Palmetto Fellows, as long as you have the GPA, pass-fail will count towards your credit necessity. So, it wouldn't change, it wouldn't benefit your GPA, it wouldn't hurt your GPA, and as long as you have enough credits with the pass-fail classes, you should be good. And yeah, so we're just saying that, we want an option, an opt-in option. The logistics, we are not calling for, so we're not saying that, you have to decide by then or this is the exact process. This is more of an endorsement of the idea of the of a path that the university could take, but that path will be then created and folded by the students and administrators that create it, depending on the the outcome of this resolution. Jeff and Thomas, do y'all have anything you would like to add?
I do, but Thomas can go first.
I think primarily Tyler has hit everything that we needed to. The one thing I would like to add is just that there are some things that are cited here that have come from a wealth of information that we've accrued from a variety of sources. So those are available for you. A lot of personal anecdotes from students that we've been in contact with, that sort of thing. That's about all. Jeff can go with what he has.
Okay, thank you. Something's just happened. Can some President Bott, you hear me? Okay. First of all, I want to start off with two things that are very personal. I will probably tear up, and she will kill me in our regular Sunday chat. But if you scroll down, you'll see that my twin sister from England is watching this evening, and that's very special for me. Very special. The second personal thing is I'm not an anecdote. I don't have an anecdote. I am the anecdote. The reason I started writing this resolution at midnight last Monday evening was because I'm one of the ones who's struggling. You may not think I struggle, but I do struggle. I live in somebody else's house and they're very kind, but it's their house. It's not mine. It's all very well. Clemson and instructors and faculty bending over backwards to design an environment for me, but it's the lady who owns the house who designs my learning. environment, not me. And that's causing me problems. So that got me thinking about writing the resolution. But it wasn't just about me, because then there were the 2 petitions. One of them has been mentioned, but there's another one. And I just want to include this as a matter of information. I'm trying really hard not to argue merits. I'm just trying to present information. There are 2 petitions. This is a Clemson only petition. The other petition is a change.org petition with 6,000 plus signatures. That may not mean anything to anyone. I'd like to remind people that last semester, when the Senate then passed a resolution by acclamation relating to sexual victimization, that petition had 2,500 signatures on a change.org petition. That's the measure of what we're talking about in terms of people who are struggling, students who are struggling, fellow students who are struggling on campus. There's a question that's been asked during the week, and I wanted to address it now rather than just waiting for it to be asked. Will this resolution, if it is implemented by administration, provide relief for everyone? No. No, it won't. We started off with pass-fail, but we realized we couldn't just implement that on its own. There were people who wanted to stick with letter grade, so we have the 2 options in the resolution, pass-fail and letter grade. But a point's been raised during the week that there are a lot of students who, for scholarship reasons and other reasons, might want to go pass-fail, but they can't because they need to get the letter grade. And it's not fair on them. No, it isn't. There's an awful lot at the moment that's not fair. And trust me, if in writing this resolution, and I'm sure I can speak for Thomas and Tyler here, if we had a solution for you guys as well, we'd put it in there. But there's only 3 more weeks of the semester. What we were trying to do was come up with something that would reduce as much stress as possible, reduce as much grievance as possible. And we are offering this motion, if implemented, will offer some relief, but not relief to everyone. We just haven't got enough time as a student body or as an administration to go to all the accreditation boards before the end of this semester and get them to change their scholarship requirements. If coronavirus continues, that may be something that we need to do over the summer or next fall. But we feel for you. We're just trying to bring some relief. That's basically it. The only thing I would say to all those people watching who aren't senators, and President Trump has done a fantastic job of explaining some of the really arcane wording that we use to get through Senate business. Thank you. When we talk about something going back to committee, I know that in England, when you send something back to committee, it's the equivalent of into the dark abyss. No, that means it goes to second read next week, when we will then have an opportunity at length to argue the merits. So I hope this can go to second read so that the student body is able to see us, represent them, and put forward the arguments for and against this resolution. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Hello, Maggie.
Alrighty, and with that, we will yield.
We're now in line for a period of question and answer, beginning with Senator Cooney.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, before I ask my 2 questions, I'm completely, floored by the fact that 2 of these authors are first-term senators. That's extremely impressive, and this is an extremely well-written resolution. So, rest your heads on that, if nothing else. But I will not waste any more time. So, Matt, if you could scroll down to the bottom of this first page, just wanted to ask a question about: have you guys considered perhaps rewording lines 21 through 23 just because it was explicitly stated in the university-wide email that you should bring your textbooks home? And so I'm afraid that if we were to send this resolution through as it is, people would kind of view that and scoff because, you should have known because it was in the email. Have you guys thought about that at all?
I'm going to say we're open to it. I think we're going to be open to it quite a lot. But it's a fact that people do not have access to these textbooks. Even though you were, told to bring it, you're moving out and I think you had a matter of days with the notice. Very short period of time. Anytime when I travel to Charleston, I forget my laptop charger, which is something fairly significant. And so, I'm open to the conversation, but this is a reality that some students are facing. And I don't want to, have to, eliminate that reality. Also, people were told the day before spring break started, and didn't know whether or not school was going to be gone for the rest of the semester. So, I mean, I'm open again to having this conversation, but it's my inclination that this is a fair and a fair and valid.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tyler. And then my second point, Matt, if you scroll down to the second page, just another question I had was, have you guys considered a little bit further, Matt? There you go. Yeah, the section of lines 48 through 52. Have you considered adding in universities that are more similar to Clemson? Just because looking at this list outside of UNC, these are all private, small, scattered across the eastern United States universities and colleges. And so I was wondering, have you considered adding, some other larger southern universities and what they've done or tried to do?
Hey, I'll send that to Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Senator Cooney. First of all, going back to the very first question, along with Senator McDougall, I am very much open to the idea of putting in something that says, even though the university, to be strictly accurate, even though the university advised students to take books and computers for 2 weeks, not until the end of the semester. Thank you, Senator Bynum. I'm certainly prepared to put in that even though they were given the warning, they nevertheless didn't take their textbooks. I mean, to be absolutely honest, and to bring a little bit of humor into the situation, we were also all advised not to go on spring break. How many people paid attention to that bit of advice? It's reality we're dealing with. We're not trying to criticize anyone. And actually, we were very, very careful in drafting this petition, in this resolution rather, not to sound like we were criticizing faculty or administration. We are all of us in the same boat. It's totally volatile, it's changing. What we wanted to do was try and take the pressure off by coming up with some system-wide relief measure. The second point is, well, Senator Cooney, thank you for the praise about how much we managed to do in a week. That's one of the things we didn't have time to do, was do more research on universities. I'm pretty sure that we will spend some more time this next week getting in some other universities. Carnegie Mellon is a big one, but we would try and do some more. But it is, other universities are in the same place that we are. Clemson's a leader. We're still thinking about it. For any university actually to go on record as implementing it, they're ahead of us. But we will try and get some more.
And Mr. President, I don't know, how this works with, our virtual thing, but someone in the chat noted that, College of Charleston did optional pass-fail. I don't know if we could mention that or not.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't state a question or they don't have a point to make, then if you see that, I would definitely say you can add that, but you just can't hold the entire Senate body accountable for that knowledge unless you state it.
All righty, appreciate that.
All right. Senator Bynum.
Hi, forgot to turn my mic on. That's important. So for my concern is just that we've gotten so far into the semester, and so people who may have done well so far, if they learn of a pass-fail system, they're not going to put forth any effort or go to the more classes because they know that they're going to pass. So is there anything kind of in place to still prompt those students to keep learning and keep trying, just so there's not just a fallout, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think the question sort of answered it, or you sort of answered it for us. We are so far into the semester, over 60% of the way. But for instance, for a personal anecdote, one of my classes, the last remaining work equals over or nearly 40% of the grade, which I imagine will be the case for quite a few classes. I obviously don't have a number. I don't think that information is, attainable. But if we pass this tomorrow, which is not the, but if it happened tomorrow, went into effect tomorrow, or even next week, and you just completely checked out, it's very likely that quite a few classes you wouldn't be able to earn the percentage that you would need for a pass or a pass fail. Also, we are kind of the idea of it is for students not to decide until after final grades are posted. So you can still work towards, that A or that B. And, if you just find yourself in an impossible situation, you've consulted with your academic advisors, with your, med school advisor, your mom, your dad, your dog, you can make that decision then.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Bynum, because that is why we chose the model that we did in the specific format that we did, because in our research, and I want to thank Thomas, Senator Newell particularly, for doing a huge amount of research on this. And in our research, we discovered that not just on this occasion, but in previous occasions, when universities introduced pass-fail and made students choose before the end of the semester, what you described is precisely what happened. And it isn't helpful. If you've got, for instance, I have a group presentation as one of my final projects, my final exam. Well, it doesn't do any good if your group is 2 people. But please, could you leave it with us on this basis that we will consult with Senator McDougall during the course of the week, because I don't know exactly what can be in a resolution and what can't. I am perfectly happy to have in the resolution, this thing was designed to work in a particular way, and we call on students please to honor that by not bumming out, because people who need letter grades still need other students to work with. But I'm not entirely sure that should be in the resolution, or whether it should be comments in the first rights, or whether it should even be a statement issued alongside. Can you leave it with us? We'll consult on that. But certainly, it is something we have addressed, and it is a very important point.
Thank you.
Senator Woody.
Hey, so my question is about dean's list and the president's list and all that, because some people will still have letter grades and some won't. So I don't know if you guys have the answer, but I know that many conversations have been had with administration. If you get the feeling that they would just suspend those lists for the semester, or if they would honor the kids who have decided to keep going with letter grades, if you guys have any thoughts or feelings about that.
I haven't heard anything, very clear or straightforward about that. A lot of universities that have gone pass fail have suspended their deans or presidents lists. I would also imagine that a lot of universities will suspend their lists regardless. In my conversations with faculty so far, the general sentiment is that grades are going to be non-reflective of work and aptitude across the board at Clemson, at every university. So those are questions that are being, and conversations that are being had at the faculty administration level. If you'd like, I can reach out to, I can find the people who are, responsible for those. What I really want to say is, I think that's a question that that's a conversation that would have if this passed, whether or not to change it, because I don't think we can say one way or another. Also, happy birthday. The blue looks great.
Thanks.
Senator Cato.
Hey, so my biggest question and concern is that, and I'm not very familiar with necessarily how pass or fail works. I've only taken like 2 classes that were pass or fail. And from my understanding, basically, it was kind of if you did the assignment, like pass or whatnot, as long as you completed everything. So my biggest concern has to do with majors like nursing and engineering, where you need that skill set. Because we don't want to just put nurses out into the field not knowing what they're doing. I mean, I wouldn't want a nurse who was doing all pass or fail course load. That would make a big difference for me. So how do y'all plan on dealing with that, or how is there any kind of like recommendation in here about how that should be dealt with for certain majors and whatnot? Or
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you bring that specific example up with nursing and engineering, because it's a conversation that we've been having because nursing and some engineering majors are ineligible for pass-fail classes because of what you just said. There programs that have accreditations typically will not allow pass-fail classes in order to receive those accreditations because you want a nurse to like pass IV 101 or whatever the class is. So yeah, those will be discussions within individual departments, which is a way a lot of these conversations with modifying academic procedures have been. But great question.
Thanks so much.
May I just add that this is something that we discussed. It's kind of like the same point that Senator McDougall made about the president and dean's list. We're not diminishing it. This is about principle. This resolution is about principle. And if the university backs the principle, then there will be very rapid and intense discussions about how to implement it. For myself, I had my conversation with my academic advisor on Friday. And whatever happens, letter grade option, pass-fail option, other things that come through, all of them are going to have some sort of impact. When I go to see my academic advisor, I don't just arrange my classes. I say, okay, what happens if I drop out? What happens if I drop something? What happens if I don't do Russian? What happens if I don't do this? And I say, I want to know what the impact of everything is. I'm not belittling or minimizing this. But before one chooses an option, if it's provided by the administration, it is up to each student to seek the advice of their academic advisor on what will be the impact of what they do. That's why we each have academic advisors. Will that mean a lot of extra work for academic advisors? Anything. Coronavirus is making a lot of extra work for a lot of people, but it's a lot less work than 20,000 students filing grievance on 5 different courses. Academic advisors are there to advise every student on the choices they should make. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Senator Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I ask my question, Tyler, you mentioned before that a student must have a certain percentage grade in a course before they can opt in for the pass-fail. Is that implied, or is that a part of the pass-fail system? Or did I just completely misread that? Or mishear that? I'm sorry.
No, you're completely good. That's typically how pass-fail as a concept works. Again, this is kind of more of the general idea of pass-fail. Nowhere in the resolution are we saying students with a 60 or 70 or an 80 are eligible for it. Those are conversations to be had with administration. It may be very well that as long as you don't have an F, you're like pass-fail is an option to you. I was just kind of using it to like as an example.
Okay, so it's still pretty open in terms of like when it's going to be implemented, how it will be implemented, and things like that.
Yeah. So what this resolution is doing is it is essentially opening the door and saying students want something like this. Let's be serious about having the discussion and see how we can implement it, not if we can. It's changing the if to the how.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Bradenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick question. Have the authors of the bill initiated any direct conversations with individuals in the administration, and have they considered the possibility that moving to a pass-fail system or an optional pass-fail system may initiate further accreditation issue with the university itself?
Yeah, so we have been in constant communications with members of the university, whether it be Dean Griffin or the provost or Dr. Miller, members of SAS. An anecdote I've been using is I was on Zoom for 7 straight hours on Friday for a mixture of things. If you could overdose on Zoom, I wouldn't have to worry about coronavirus. So we've administration is wildly aware of what we are talking about. As for accreditation, I'm actually going to yield some time if Senator Wood could speak on that.
Yeah, so I've talked a lot with Dean Griffin. I've been texting or emailing or calling him every day this past week. So they're very aware there are some issues for like by major accreditation. So those are specifically nursing would be ineligible. Some engineering, I'm still working on getting the list of which engineering majors, and then some PRTM, which is Parks, Rec, and Tourism Management. As far as we're aware, the rest of the majors would still be eligible. And I was actually requested by another senator if I could get the numbers of like precisely how many students would become ineligible due to accreditation of their major programs, but that was yesterday, so we're still working on that. But hopefully I should have a number for you guys by next week before like you'll actually have to vote, saying this many senators are affected. Not this many students are affected and would be ineligible because of their major. So I hope that answers your question.
Senator Innocenti.
President, my question has been answered.
Senator Rogers.
I was on mute. Kind of bouncing back to Blair's question about the presidents and the dean's list, is it possible that the implementation of a pass-fail system could be the reasoning for them revoking these awards or suspending them? Sorry.
So yes, only because there's a possibility for it. I don't think I'm more comfortable saying that there's a possibility for it than I would be saying that it's likely that would be the reason. There's an off chance. Like I said earlier, I think it's almost more likely that these awards be taken away just because of the situation that we're in. Also, like there's so much that is uncertain right now that I don't think the biggest threat to the dean's list and the president's right now is a pass-fail system.
Can I just add that we have a week until second read? The dean's list point is a very good one. It's a question to which we honestly don't have the answer. Only administration have the answer. If you would like, if it is possible, to put into the resolution, as we said earlier with the earlier point, that we don't want this resolution to impact dean's list and president's list. Here's the thing. I've been on the president's list a couple of times. I'm not quite sure how, but I know what I'm doing to get onto the president and the dean's list. If a student speaking to their academic advisor is told by their academic advisor, look, by the way, if you go pass-fail, you can't get onto the dean's list. I'm looking at your record. You've been on the dean's list 3 times. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Oh, that's their choice. What I think you're specifically saying is, if the university sees the pass-fail resolution, are they going to use it to stop dean's list and president's list? I was involved in one very intense meeting with administration where I asked the same question about 3 different ways to get an answer. All I can say is they never raised the prospect that a pass-fail resolution would do that. It doesn't mean we shouldn't ask, but can you leave it with us to ask and see if we can get a question before second read? And in the meantime, if there's wording that you would like us to include in the resolution to that effect, I, for one, am open to that. Does that help?
Yeah, I just think I'd want answers from admin before voting on this without knowing the answer to this question. Thank you.
You can do that.
Senator Strickland.
Hey, so I had a question about, so I was reading up on like other colleges' implementations of this whole, pass-fail thing, right? Because my brother goes to college at Charleston and they implemented it there. So my question is there any possibility of us doing like what other colleges have been doing, where it's optional, but it's like on a per class basis?
Yeah, I can yield Senator Wood some time.
All right, so hello again. I'm going to address yes, this is technically possible, as is a pass-fail system that forces everyone to take it, as is a pass-fail system like proposed. If you start your question with, is it possible? I think we're required to say yes, because really nothing is set in stone yet. Conversations have been had with admin, but there's no like, this is a plan moving forward. Admin's current position is there is no current plan to implement pass fail. So I say that to say, yes, it is possible that we could implement a system where you choose by class, but honestly, at Clemson, I don't see it super likely, although it is possible, as is anything.
All right, and another little, it's just a piece of information I'd like to point out because I saw some confusion in the pass fail discussion group me about like stuff like Palmetto Fellows still getting credit hours. I read up on it, and at least at the College of Charleston, they're saying that Palmetto Fellows is safe with the amount of credit hours. You can still get your credit hours from pass fail. It's just it won't affect your GPA. So if you're going to fall below a 3.0 and you need those classes to get back up above a 3.0, you can't. You'll still lose.
Yes, I can confirm that. I've read the regulations in depth for both life and for Palmetto, and pass fail classes will not affect your GPA in any way. So if your GPA is currently below a 3.0 or whatever your scholarship requires, you probably shouldn't opt in pass fail. But given that you have the required GPA, the pass fail classes should count for pretty much any scholarship when it comes to the 30 credit hours per academic year or the equivalent requirement.
All right. Well, that's the end of my question.
Senator Snipes.
Hey guys, I think it's wonderful that we've brought a resolution to the floor this fast. So I just wanted to put that out there first and foremost. But I have a couple of questions for you that are related to the resolution. So the first one is, if this resolution fails, or if we pass it and the university chooses to ignore our call to action, do we have another plan in place to resolve the issues that are mentioned in the resolution, such as lack of internet access or taking care of a family or loss of a job? Like, is there a plan in place at the administrative level, or do we just simply not have one?
So, this is a multifaceted one. This resolution and pass fail as an idea, as a project, as an initiative is just one treatment of all the symptoms that COVID-19 has caused. So the real answer is yes. Every single day we are working towards remedying those other symptoms. Conversations with administration, especially those in charge of academics, to find different ways for academic leniency that we can put into policy. The Student Emergency Fund could possibly, prevent someone from, losing housing or having to get another job or whatnot. So regardless of, what happens with this resolution and this initiative, we are not going to stop working towards remedying those other aspects. Whether this passes or this fails, whether the university, adopts it or not, when I say we, I mean everybody here and the student leaders around campus, and just students on campus, will continue advocating for these other initiatives to help students, if that answers your question.
Yeah, sure. And I just have one more. It might be more for Senator Wood than anybody else, but will the coronavirus as a whole, like the entire situation, be a valid reason for students to go to the Academic Grievance Council next term, or just whenever we're allowed back on campus?
Yeah, I yield time to Senator Wood.
So your question is, how does this affect academic grievance?
Yeah, so like basically, will you be able to go before the Academic Grievance Council and petition to have your grade changed simply because you were put out of school or had internet connectivity issues? Like is the university prepared for that to happen? Like, will that be allowed to happen, first of all? And second of all, like, is the university prepared for the massive amount of people that will file those claims?
Yeah, so I was talking to Dean Griffin about this, and academic grievance will still exist, and you still can file academic grievance if you feel like something about the class or the way it was dealt with put forced you to like get a grade lower than you would have in another section. They're trying to make it not be the de facto, just like my grades were negatively affected by e-learning and following academic grievance. They really don't want it to turn into that, but I think the students who are actually going to have a case for academic grievance are going to be the ones who really their professor changed the syllabus in a way that was that's very obvious to be unreasonable, for instance, or even would be considered reasonable, but strongly negatively affected their grade. So like it's really up in the air, but I can confirm it will exist. But they don't want it to be de facto use. I think that's still going to get figured out as the semester moves on, but it will exist. Sorry, I rambled.
Can I just pick up on what Senator Wood was saying? I haven't been a part of those conversations, but I'm not surprised to hear Senator Wood, correct me if what I'm interpreting as you saying is wrong. I'm not surprised to hear admin saying that they don't want a mass rush by students to academic grievance. With thousands of grievances. That was part of the reasoning behind this resolution. Look, as I said to begin with, it's not going to bring relief to everyone. What we're trying to do is come up with something systemic that can take an awful lot of the burden off of faculty, an awful lot of the burden off the individual grievance process, an awful lot of burden out of every single student having to talk to every single instructor and deal with very individual circumstances. Is there something that we can bring in that's systemic, that takes brings an awful lot of relief to people? Administration are obviously already thinking this way. That's what the final exam announcement was all about. What can administration and faculty bring in that's systemic, that takes a lot of the pressure off? Give instructors the discretion not to have final exams. So that comes back to the point that Senator McDougall was making. This is one of many things that's being considered. The great thing about this, and I want to be very careful not to argue, the great thing about this resolution, with only 3 weeks left of the semester, is it offers the Senate the opportunity to reflect the student body's concern so that we can say we are thinking about it. And if there's any chance that the administration is not going to listen to the Senate, it's certainly not going to listen to the Senate if the Senate hasn't said anything.
Yeah, and I would like to, sorry, Sam, Senator Snipes, I would like to mention one other thing too, is that there's going to be another emergency academic council meeting on Wednesday this week that Carson and I will be receiving updates as it gets closer. They'll be talking about this and other ways to alleviate stress related to academics.
Wonderful. When y'all get that information, please send it out to us.
Yes, yes, yes.
Senator Shrithern.
Yeah, can you guys see me? Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so one thing I just wanted to note, the school, President Clemens came in and talked to us at Senate about how he wanted to see more Pell Grant recipients and how that would help us with our rankings. Oh my God, okay, sorry. My face is tripping me out. So how that would help us with more Pell Grant ranking recipients would help us with rankings and stuff like that. But it strikes me that not having pass-fail and like taking all of our students off campus is most disproportionately affecting like the Pell Grant students who need those who like go home to like unstable households, who go home to have to like work another job to take care of their siblings, to just supplement and go back into a situation that they just were trying to get out of in the first place. So even if we don't pass fail for everybody, is there anything in this bill to, or have you guys talked to faculty at all about trying to figure out how to take this on a case-by-case basis for students that were generally performing well or doing well, but are now being really affected by having to go back home, having to do everything online?
So just, I want to clarify, are you asking if we have talked about having pass-fail on a case-by-case basis?
No, or just some way for like grade restitution, basically.
Before I start, I'm going to yield some time to Senator Wood.
Hey, so I don't know that much about this, but I have talked to admin some about this, just being like, hey, there are some students, and I didn't mention specifically Pell Grant, but some students who like very specifically are going to have issues such as the ones you listed. And admin really are looking for ways to help those students, and right now they're like really trying to push out school-wide initiatives to help everybody, like the emergency academic council meeting and the two big announcements you saw last week regarding final exam policies and the drop date. So right now they're kind of focused on trying to help everybody, but moving forward they are looking to help students who really need it on a case-by-case basis, and that won't necessarily be pass fail or grade restitution. Like there's no details of exactly how they will be helping those students, but it, since it is kind of on a case by case basis, but like I will tell you that admin are watching out for those students and they are aware that those situations exist, and like that they genuinely are trying to help those students.
Right. And Sam, what do you yield to a follow up?
Yes.
Oh, that's it. Okay, yeah. So Sam was with me for the student affairs student advisory board meeting on Thursday with Krissa and Dr. Miller and all those people. And we were like hammering in on them, hey, you guys haven't instituted any sort of like standardized protocol for communication between professors and students. There are still professors who don't have Canvas pages. There's still this and that. So before we even go into pass, fail, or anything like that, has there been any like progress since me and Sam went ham on them about communication, transparency, standardization? Like, is anything happening?
I will again yield time to Senator Wood.
Yeah, so I've been kind of yelling at Griffin to do this for like a week and a half now, probably, being like, hey, I have these answers and I've given them to Senate, but there's a difference between Senate distributing information and it coming directly from administration, since we obviously can't reach all 20,000 undergraduate students. So I've been really pushing on Griffin like the past like week and a half or so to get like some standardized email out saying like, here's how you should proceed if you have these issues and stuff like that. And I had like 5 points that like I thought these were the most important points. It was supposed to get sent out last Wednesday, but then with the stuff with the moving the drop date and the pass fail, they wanted to make sure that like people really focused on those. So they didn't want to like clog their inboxes with all these other emails, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it was what the provost decided to do was let's focus on these two emails and then reevaluate. So I am like still working with Griffin to try to get these points out to all the students. So on the student side, there's not been any emails, but we're working.
Get him to come talk to Senate or like hear our grievances or something at some point.
I can try to get him to come in the next 2 weeks. I'll talk to Hunter about it.
All right, cool. I'm done.
And to transition this back a little bit to our resolution, I think this is a resolution that will really help those Pell Grant students. I'm a Pell Grant student, and kind of one of our ideas and main missions behind the resolution is, if it helps 3 people, it doesn't hurt people. Increasing the good versus the bad, then I think it's something that's good to consider. But thank you.
Senator Innocenti.
Hey guys, thank you for all your great work on this. As a previous senator has already kind of stated, I'm really glad to see a resolution on the floor like this on our first night, our first real Senate. So hats off to all of you authors. I do have a question just in regards to the resolution as a whole. And a lot of concerns are being brought up about the how equitable this process would or wouldn't be. There is the issues with the accreditation issues and certain majors not being able to use this option if it did go through. So my question to you is, have we not thought about other things that we could advocate for that are more equitable and could be used by every student? Something that was brought up, I think, was a lower grading scale. So like a 15-point grading scale instead of a 10. That'd be more equitable for students to take advantage of and alleviate stress during this time. So if you could expand on that and maybe expand on why we went with this option compared to a more equitable option.
Yeah, so I think something that's important to say is that we didn't go with pass fail as opposed to something else. We have decided to go with pass fail in addition to other things, let it be one of the initiatives. The reason that y'all are seeing a resolution is because in our conversations with administration, that's what they said that they wanted to see. They wanted to see this the voice of the undergraduate student body make a statement on this. They want that is the way that they hear the opinion of the undergraduate student body. So we are not saying by any means that pass fail is the only means in which we are going to address the issues that COVID-19 has caused. It is just one of the issues. There were 6,000 people that signed one petition. There were 3,355 confirmed students that signed one. There's an obvious interest in it. It won't help everybody, but it will at least, and there are at least 3,355 people that said that they want it. Something that a senator that is no longer on Senate anymore said last term was, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And I think that's something that's really important to keep in mind here, that this will help a lot of students. There are things that we can do to help those other nursing students or those engineering students. But I don't think that, I think it is true that this will not be accessible to everybody, that we can do things that are accessible to different groups or more accessible to, closer to 100% of undergraduate students. But I do believe that this will help a lot of people, and we shouldn't not consider it or push it aside solely because it won't help everybody. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Senator Woody.
Mr. President, I move to send Senate Resolution 1 back to committee.
There's been a motion to send Senate Resolution 1 back to committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any objection? Seeing none, Senate Resolution is now back into committee. All right. Mr. Clerk, is there any additional new business?
No, Mr. President.
Seeing none, we're now in line for a period of announcements. Just state announcement into the comment box. We will first begin with Dr. Miller. He's going to introduce himself to the body. Dr. Miller is not only the interim VP of Student Affairs and the Dean of Students, but he is our lovely student government advisor. So you may speak now, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks everyone for having me. Sorry, I was supposed to be on a little bit earlier, but fortunately, we're trying to wrap up this whole thing about for refunds for students. So that's moving down the road at a nice steady clip. And I think we're going to have something out for you this week. So I'm real hopeful about that. And I think people will be pleased with it as well. So that went a little long. Yes, just as Hunter was telling you, I serve as your official advisor. And I think for everyone, what that means is that I'm here for you in terms of advice and consult. I am a guest in this body, and my role certainly is to function as a guest. I'm only able to speak when I'm allowed to speak, or if I'm introduced, or if I'm asked to speak. And I work very, very closely with the leadership. We have regularly scheduled meetings wherein we talk about the issues that you all are concerned about, and how I can best facilitate those things. One example too would be anytime that the government is interested in any kind of a meeting, anything like that, I would be your conduit for anybody within the collective university. I don't see all of you nearly as much as I see government leadership, but know that I'm here, support you in what you're doing, and I'm just one voice. The university supports what you're doing. The president sees every single resolution that comes through. I brief him regularly on the events that are happening within government. So I think you can feel really assured that piece is happening. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Senator Walker.
Hey y'all, just wanted to reiterate a couple things I said earlier when I introduced myself. Just feel free to reach out to me. I'm gonna put my contact information in the group me. If you want to talk at all this week, I'd love to kind of have a little intro Zoom meeting or something. But again, if you need anything or just need some support, or again, want to do anything fun, I am available and would love to get to know y'all better. I would say that Davis would echo the same thing, but we're both super excited to be your chaplains this year. And that's all.
Senator Wood.
Hey y'all. I just wanted to thank you guys for the resolution tonight. Everybody did a really great job and was super courteous in their questions. I really want to emphasize that, like, although you may disagree with some people on it next week, please just be kind in your responses. And I also wanted to reach out to some of our new senators. If you ever have a point and you're like, no, that's not important, that's not a good point, trust me, it's a good point. Always state your points. They're really important. So just really looking forward to hear more from y'all on that, and thank you for really spending your time on it tonight.
Senator McDougald.
Hey y'all. Just wanted to give a big shout out to Jeff and Thomas. Being new senators, they've really taken the lead on this resolution. I'm just someone who likes to talk and knows a little bit about the procedure, so I kind of took the lead, but really they're the power and force behind this. It's really great to see, like a lot of y'all said, seeing them do the work and really like coming in hot. We love that. That's why we're here. Also, again, if you are interested in the project working with me, the Committee on Inclusion and Equity, and also the Office of Inclusion and Equity on telling the stories of students, please reach out to me. Look for my phone number in my committee report. I think it's going to be a really great project. It's going to be something novel that Senate hasn't done, CUSG hasn't done. It's going to be a great way to do outreach with students. I'm going to need help with it. I'm really excited about it. And really excited. Thank you all for the great debate tonight and our questions tonight. Excited for good debate. If you have any questions for the authors, reach out to me, reach out to Jeff, reach out to Thomas. That's all for me.
Senator Smith.
Hey guys, great job with first read tonight. You guys are doing amazing. Keep an eye out for the COVID-19 reference guide graphic. It's coming out soon and you can get committee points. I know my committee is going to be posting it everywhere. So just wanted to put a bug in your ear with that. So thank you.
Senator Fennell.
Hey everyone, just want to reiterate, amazing job tonight. I'm really proud of all the new senators who have spoken up and taken this chance to ask really amazing and thought-provoking questions. And amazing job to the authors of this piece of legislation, for both pieces of legislation. I'm very proud of how tonight has gone. I did want to say, please reach out to me with any feedback you have that you would like for me to convey to the IT Student Advisory Board for our meeting on Friday. Anything regarding e-learning day or this e-learning period, please let me know. And then additionally, I will be sending out some resources that CCIT has made available for all students during this time. So please utilize these if you're having some issues connecting to Wi-Fi at your house or wherever you are. Please utilize these resources and send them to other people to utilize as well. Thank you.
Senator Innocenti.
Hey guys, not to beat a dead horse, but great job tonight, first night and first read for both of our pieces of legislation tonight. We're going to be having a lot more cabinet appointments coming to the floor next week, so please do your homework before Monday, because we're going to have 20 plus appointments coming to the floor in first read. So it's very important that y'all do your due diligence and we're not just rubber stamping cabinet appointments. These are very important appointments in our government, so please make sure you're doing your homework. Also, please take a look at that document that Hunter sent out with all the different motions you can make at the beginning of the meeting over this next week. And if you have any questions about it, just let your chair know, let myself know. We're more than happy to help out with motions, but just kind of get to know a little bit more about how our Senate body operates. But just do a little bit of homework on that before next week.
Senator Stevens.
Hey guys, so just real quick, I want to remind y'all we're continuing the Senate Bible study from last term. We're going to be dropping the link to join that group me into the Silly Senate group me soon, right after this meeting. So if you're interested, join that group me. We'll be finding a time that works for everyone where we can meet sometime every week. If you don't find the link, reach out to me, Davis, or Mary Francis, and just let one of us know if you're interested.
Senator Goodrow.
Hey guys, as Emma did, I wanted to introduce myself. I am Davis Goodrow, and I am honored and excited to be co-chaplain with Emma this term. I'm super excited just to grow relationships with all of y'all. I've met a lot of y'all. Excited to meet a lot more. But like Emma said, I'm here to talk to y'all. I'm here to talk about anything. Definitely Senate stuff, but also just life. I did want to echo what Nate said. Bible study is a really cool opportunity to explore something. It really doesn't matter where you come from when it comes to that, whether you've been going to church or whether you've never done that. Just a cool opportunity to have discussion with fellow senators that are in the same boat either way. So I wanted to echo that, and I wanted to just say I'm so excited to be chaplain and to help in whatever way I can, whatever way I can help y'all. So super excited. Thanks, guys.
Senator Woody.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Seeing none, we're now in line to vote whether to adjourn. So I'm going to send a poll out. Only senators vote on this, please. Very good. Five more seconds. All right. It is the opinion of the chairs that the ayes do have it, and we are adjourned.
Great job tonight, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Yes, sir.